Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Fetch Quest podcast and another episode of our series, Two Short Games. In this series, two of our hosts will pitch a game to play to each other and to you, the audience, in a bite-sized video. Any game we discuss can normally be beaten in 1 to 10 hours, making them very easy to just pick up and play. But with that out of the way, I'm your host for tonight, Liam, joined by my fellow co-host, Brewer.
Hello, everybody. Liam, I'm very happy to be talking with you today because I've been so ready for another episode of Two Short Games because I think I have a fantastic pick this time.
I also have I think I have a fantastic pick, and I want to share that pick with you right now.
All right, you go first then.
All right, my game is a game by Player First Games called Ghostrunner, and Ghostrunner is if you don't know Player First Games, their big game that they're making right now is called Valor Mortis, which is a first person Souls-like. But this is one of the first games that they made. I don't know if you've heard of it before.
Interesting. You know, I will do a little bit of foreshadowing and just say, I think for both of us, we're talking about games that was kind of a first for each of our chosen studios.
I think you might be correct. Anyways, this game is a platformer where you play as a guy called the Ghost Runner in a cyberpunk setting where you've got a katana and you are in this place called the Tower, and you've got to go through and climb the tower in order to save this dude called the Architect, because the place has been overrun and by these criminals, and you've got to go and save it. So the game is very focused on fast movement. You die in one hit, but so do enemies. So it's very volatile type of game.
I see.
And it's a very fast reset button as well. So whenever you die, immediately back into it.
I do have to ask, what genre is this particularly, or how would you describe it?
In terms of a genre, I don't know the exact words. I would say I would probably call it something like a first person
shooter, maybe.
You don't shoot, you have a sword.
First person sorter.
For FPS, first person slasher.
There we go. That's a better name than what I came up with.
Yeah. But the genre is very there are some games like it, but if I were to compare it to some games, I'd say stuff like Mirror's Edge, if you've ever played that, Katana Zero.
I do like Katana Zero.
My Friend Pedro, that kind of game where it's very quick paced, you're flying through enemies, that kind of stuff. And the game, my favorite part of the game is the movement, because the movement of the game feels so good to use. You have movement, jump, all of that. You've got a dash, and then you've got a slide, and on their own they don't do that much crazy stuff, but all of that movement works in tandem with each other, where if you go downhill you're going to slide faster, if you jump out of a slide you go much faster, your dash can conserve your momentum in the air, and if you dash off a ledge and jump you get a super boost, which increases your speed by a ton.
Wow.
So a lot of the game is replayability of getting better and better with these levels to go, because there's a leaderboard of trying to go faster, that kind of stuff, and I was really into that. But a lot of the game is just seeing how fast you can go through a level, how perfect you can do it, and I think that's really well done. And so that's my favorite part, because the game's not very long. I say a new player would probably take about 9 to 10 hours to play it. But if you're good at the game, you can beat this game very quickly. Even outside of speed running shortcuts and all of that, you could beat this game in 3 to 4 hours.
I see, interesting. So it very much is just built around speedrunning in general, sort of like something like Neon White.
It's very much built around speedrunning. Like, I think when this game was made, the people who made the game were very much like, hey, we're trying to make this game a speed game. And they've actually, like, in certain patches for the game, because there is a DLC for the game, they got rid of a skip, and because people were, like, not happy about it, they put the skip back in, even though it's technically a glitched skip. They just put it back in the game because they understood that, like, people enjoyed that kind of like speed tech kind of stuff. So it's a game built around speed, and it's just like, it's such a good feeling to get good at this game. I think it's one of the most like enjoyable games to get good at.
Awesome.
And like, this game is also very personal to me because I think you could tell I very much like got into the speedrunning side of this game. So like, that is part of where some of my enjoyment got in, is like practicing levels, practicing the movement, because the speed of the game is just like that crazy. But like, I would give this game like a solid 9. I think this game is like endlessly replayable and like endlessly fun. It's got like, the story isn't like something to, you know, like write home about, but it's still like pretty engaging. And the music is really good.
Hey, for a game you're going to be replaying a bunch of times, I feel like the music being good is kind of a requirement, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Man, that sounds awesome.
But yeah, that is the end. Thank you, Brewer, for listening to my pitch. If you have any more questions about Ghostrunner, please let me know, and I'll be happy to answer.
I guess just, I'm actually kind of interested to play it, especially just because, you know, short pick up and playtime. What can I play this on? What would you say is one of the best ways?
You can play on... this is very much a mouse and keyboard game, but most like fast-paced games usually are mouse and keyboard, just because it is in first person. That camera movement, that control you have with a mouse is quite imperative, but you can play it on other... I originally played it on Xbox One for the longest time and still had an absolute blast.
So mouse and keyboard is going to be best, but you can still enjoy it in many different formats.
You can still enjoy it, like, no matter what you play, but I will say that, like, if you want to get like the insane movement and all of that, a lot of that is so much easier from mouse and keyboard.
Okay. I'll definitely keep that in mind when we play it. Luckily, I think we do share it in our Steam library, so...
I own both the first and the second game.
Ooh, interesting. It has a sequel.
Not as good, but that's also because the first game is just like, I think, that much better because it's more contained. I think the problem with the second one is they go too big.
Okay. That sounds cool, but I do want to say, Liam, I also have a game that's in our Steam library that I think you and the audience should play.
Oh, really? What game is it, Brewer?
I think this game should sound a little familiar to you, because like I said, a lot of the games we're talking about are like actually kind of more similar than I thought. This is an action-based game. I'd say it's pretty replayable with all the different weapons it has, and it was probably one of the first major games the studio I'm talking about put out, particularly Supergiant Games, who's known for Hades and Hades 2, which were critically acclaimed. And I'd argue this game laid the foundation for what Hades and Hades 2 became. I'm talking about Bastion. Have you ever heard of Bastion, Liam?
I actually have heard of Bastion. I've looked at all of Supergiant's games. I haven't played it, but I think I have listened to some of the music. But you said it's made by Supergiant Games? Did like much of the same team work on the art and the music for the game?
Actually, yes. Especially a lot of the same team that you were already familiar with Hades. So like, you know the voice actor for Hades, Poseidon, Kronos even?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's Logan Cunningham. And those voices sounded fantastic. That was actually a big reason so many people loved Hades, the voice acting. And imagine you get to listen to him for the entire game, because Bastion has a very unique way to tell its story. Logan Cunningham is the narrator, and throughout the entire game, he narrates the game in a dynamic fashion with his voice lines, So he'll react to what you do. If you make something explode, he'll comment on it. And in the more quiet sections, he'll also comment on what the protagonist, the kid, is actively doing in the broken world of Bastion. Because there's kind of this apocalypse that went on, and you're relying on the Bastion to try to restore everything. And I'd say another thing that keeps it going is another team member who also worked on Hades is Darren Korb for the soundtrack, which he also made the soundtrack for
my
Bastion.
goodness.
And dude, it is like butter melting in your ears. It is so beautiful, especially the ending song, in my opinion, like Setting Sail. Like, that can almost bring a tear to my eye. Like, it is genuinely a work of art. And while I do think it is more of the blueprint game, because Hades kind of did a lot of what Bastion has done, but better, I'd say it is still very much worth your time. Because also, if you've played Hades, I'd argue you can see a lot of where they came from in their game design and how they've really stepped it up as well. But also just how well it still holds up after all these years. Because it was kind of that early indie era where there wasn't as many like standout studios coming out with games because stuff just wasn't as accessible, but they made a game that was really good and it attracted a lot of attention. And I think because of that, they've been able to still keep producing like lots of great games that now we're even on the stage for Game of the Year. Because especially the gameplay of Bastion is really addictive. It's simple, but for the short period you're playing it, you'll love it. Because you have a lot of different weapons. You have like a fast melee machete, a variety of different guns and like bows you can use. The hammer you get at the start is like well balanced, but you can charge it up, swing it down. And it's so satisfying because while you're going through all these levels and fighting these enemies, you're exploring this beautiful hand-drawn world that is just like candy to the eyes. Like that's the best way I can describe it. You really have to play it for yourself to understand what I'm talking about.
It sounds like I do. What was your favorite part about the game?
That's honestly really hard to say. Like, I could just say the soundtrack, because I still listen to some of the songs for these games, like, even years later. But honestly, even though the story was really simple, the few choices you make at the end really stuck with me. Especially for the entire message it was trying to go for, and that very unique narrator I mentioned, because it sounds kind of crazy to put this much emphasis on a narrator for a game, because normally it's just like, okay, this is kind of expected depending on what genre you're doing, but the narrator in Bastion is really something unique, and something you have to play to experience for yourself, especially with it changing depending on what you do. It's part of the reason why I say video games are such a unique art form, because of what player input does, especially for when a studio like Supergiant Games makes sure they can respond to that player response in such a great way.
Really interesting. Like the way you're talking about this narrator makes me think of like it's giving me like Stanley Parable vibes.
Honestly, yeah, except with him maybe not being an asshole.
Fair enough. But I gotta ask, like, how long is this game? It seems like it's very rich for. So how long is it?
This game isn't actually all that long. I think on average it will take you about 6 hours if you're just doing the main story, maybe like 8 to 9 hours if you're doing a little extra. And if you're really crazy and you want to take on like all the challenges, because similar to Hades, it does have a lot of different modifiers and stuff for how you want to adjust your difficulty. Completionist is around 20 hours, so this game is usually also very cheap, like a couple dollars. I'd say you get a very decent bang for your buck for the unique experience that you'll be enjoying.
Interesting. I'm really might have to check this out, especially since it's super massive games, and I love their stuff that I have played.
Yeah, no, exactly. And again, I think it is just really interesting that both of us ended up choosing games that were like kind of the first big hits for each of our respective studios.
Yeah, I also, speaking of like our studios, I don't remember what I said the studio's name was, but I feel like I got it wrong, so I just have to like make a little bit of a correction. The studio is called One More Level.
Okay, One More Level.
And yes, I do. Ghostrunner was their first big hit.
Awesome. I'd say, but with that though, Liam, thank you for listening to my pitch. If you have any more questions about Bastion, let me know and I'll be happy to answer.
Oh, of course. I think I do want to ask, like, what would you say is like the biggest biggest draw other than like the music? I would like to hear that.
I feel like that's a similar question that was asked before, but it's also very different because it's gonna just very much depend on what you as a player want. I'd say if you want an interactive story, that's actually one of the highlights of Bastion for me, because even though there's not too much player input in terms of like the big choices, you do, again, get with that narrator, you get a lot of commentary based on like what you do just by like moving around and attacking shit. But also the full story as well, like even though there isn't too much input, the broad brushstrokes of it are genuinely beautiful to witness and will keep you thinking, I'd say, for at least like a good week after you beat the game. And the combat is very simple, but again, there is a lot of variety to it with all the different weapons, so it's not going to be nearly as advanced as what you see in Hades, but you will definitely see where they got their inspiration from, I'd say, or what they built off of.
Yeah. Well, I'm very happy to hear that from you, Brewer, because that game does sound like something I will have to, put some thought into making, maybe making a attempt at a playthrough. But thank you, viewer, for listening to our pitches. If you have any more questions about the games we talked about or want to tell us about your experience playing them, please comment down below. And if you like this kind of content and want to see more of it, please like and subscribe.
But with that, we've been the Fetch Quest Podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.